In this episode from the archive, I speak to Paula Vasquez Meeks about her work and how she got into photography. This is The Photography Junkie. So I am joined today with Paula, and I'm going to butcher your name, Vasquez Meeks.
Yes, that is right.
I actually managed it. I was thinking, I don't know whether or not
It's right. You know, I'm amazed that you said that better than most Americans pronounce. My maiden name is Vasquez. I go by Paula VN. It's just more convenient.
So we first met in the Conceptual photography group.
Yes.
And you posted an image and I thought, got to get her on my show.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm not sure which image that was.
It was quite a while ago now. So we've been talking for a while now, haven't we?
Yeah. Yes, we have.
But your images as a whole consistently good.
Thank you so much. I'm very pleased to hear you say that you like them as a whole.
So where did it all start for you? When did you pick up the camera?
Well, I can say that I have always taken photos, even as probably when I was about 13 or 14, I picked up, just a point and shoot. And I basically photographed everything, all of my friends, of course, myself, and I just loved it. And I would ask my friends to put on an outfit. They were all very bad, of course, but, so dress them up, stand right here. Yeah. And take shots. And I just loved it very much my entire life, as far back as I can remember. And then I actually went to college, to an art college, and I studied fashion design. So I did that, love fashion. And after I was done, quickly realized that this was not going to be anything viable for me, and did other things, all artistic, and ended up segueing back into photography. And it's where I could kind of merge everything that I love into one place.
So what are those things that you left? What are the things that you like to throw into the cooking pot?
Well, I love fashion. I love art of all forms. I tend to, my aesthetic tends to go just a little bit darker than, a little bit dark. So I didn't start off, obviously, doing kind of a conceptual photography, but it's what, after many years, I kind of started falling into, which is just kind of an artistic interpretation. I don't know how to put it in a way, maybe like there's a slight darkness to it, a slight kind of melancholy.
So where does that come from in your life that's usually linked to something?
I just think even as a child, it probably started as a child, I got very much into movies, old movies, black and white movies, which is not a very common thing for young children to be, in awe of. But I loved the movies. I loved Bette Davis. She was my absolute favorite, and I absolutely adored Bette Davis. And I didn't realize at the time when I thought that, she was such a great actress. I just thought like I would watch these movies and I just couldn't take my eyes off of her. And I loved it. And I loved beauty, and I loved beautiful women. I just loved everything I wanted to be them. I wanted to live in a different time. And so I would read books also. The first book that I ever read that I remember making me feel, transporting me to a different place in time was C.S. Lewis' Narnia series. And my favorite was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And my mom would drop me off at the library and I would stay there all day. And I just happened across this book and I read it. And I mean, I could say that at that point, it just literally opened up my mind to these possibilities of this.
So you must have been happy when the films came out.
I was happy, but apprehensive about how they were going to portray it on film because your imagination's so much greater.
I don't think they did as good a job as the BBC did with the series when I was younger. I don't know if it came over there or not.
I have not seen it, but I do know that consistently the BBC does much greater work than most of our American versions do, I guess, I would, for lack of a better term.
It was over the space of probably 2 months, the series.
Yeah, I have not seen it, but now that you mention it, I'm going to have to look for it. Yes, because one of my other very favorite movies is Wuthering Heights. And I read the book in high school. I had already seen the movie as a child, which I adored. And then I watched the BBC version, and that blew me away. It's very true to the book. They didn't really take any liberties, and it was just absolutely amazing. So just from an artistic perspective, I'm just more drawn to these darker. Wuthering Heights is very dark. So it's like I've always been drawn to that. And I'm not quite sure exactly why, but it just speaks to me personally.
Do you find that because you put the darker stuff out there, your general life is more happy as a result because you're throwing your darkness away?
I have not thought of it in those terms, but yes, yes, I'm very happy. I love what I do. I have a lot of friends, and we're not sitting home being dark all the time or like being sad or morose. But yes, it's a definite outlet for me. So that probably is very true that I'm able to kind of just throw it out away from me into the world, so it doesn't stick with me personally.
Yeah, it's the same for my stuff as well. When I do the more darker stuff, it's my release. It used to be music, and now it's art.
Yes, very, very, very true.
So do you do this for clients as well?
Yes, I do.
So when did the business side of it start to creep in then?
Well, I love first of all, I love how you phrase that, because it definitely just creeps in on you. It just starts happening. You don't really realize it at first. It started, I had been shooting for a while. Because when I first started shooting, I didn't know what my style was. I knew I loved photography, and I started taking photos, and they were always of very beautiful young women, that type of thing. And they were good, and I did some headshots. So I'm in Los Angeles, and a lot of my friends are actors, that sort of thing. And I would take some headshots for them. I'm sorry. There's a lot of noise going on behind me right now. Are you picking that up?
Yeah, I'm picking up a little bit, but it's fine.
Okay. So, I just over years, honed into a certain style. And then once that started happening, the clients that were going to be my clients found me, and then they became my clients. So it's hard to pinpoint. Like, you can't, people always want to know, like, well, how do I do that? How do I start making money? And I mean, I wanted to know that as well, because I wish I was making money, years before, but it just sort of evolved. You can't rush it.
I've come to the conclusion that you've got to put it in the shirt time before you even think about
Absolutely. You've got to, it's not just about going out and taking a technically good photograph. Some of my favorite photos are of mine and of a lot of people that I admire greatly are not technically good, but it's because it's an art form. And I think so many people forget that, and they just think about the technicalities of photography, which of course you need to know. You have to know them, so that then you can dump a couple if you need to and get the right shot. So, your clients are going to find you. You can't force clients to hire you and to like your work. When you're finally ready to have clients and have them pay you, they come to you because they see a body of work that relates to them in some way. And I do shoot a lot of children, but my photographs of children also tend to be a little bit darker. But the children that I'm shooting like it, and their parents like it. I honestly, I do lighter stuff, and I can't do it, and it's fun. But there's always going to be some of my other stuff that creeps in, and usually the parents always go for that. That's the stuff that they love because they've already seen my body of work. So it's just the way, you can't really sit down and make a business plan for that. It just happens, develops over time, and it all of a sudden it's just in front of you.
So when they find you, do they come through Facebook? Do they come through your website?
A little bit of both, actually. I mean, I've had people that have just stumbled upon my website, and definitely I've had a website for many years, but definitely more recently I'm getting a consistent stream of people from my website because I've been able to objectively narrow down my photos to, because you take a lot of photos, as you should. And I think the problem is that a lot of people will throw everything in, like, well, this is a good photo, and this is a good photo, and this is a good photo. Hey, this is a dog, this is a still life, this is that, and you can have all those things, but you can't have all of them all the time. And people get confused by that. So you need to narrow down this, make a smaller window that people are going to see. They seek you out. So when I streamlined my website, I started getting more of the type of clients that I was really interested in shooting and that I wanted to shoot, that were more had my sensibility, that liked my aesthetic, and that started happening. So my website's coming more into play now. At first, it was most definitely Facebook. That was helping me, with people liking photos, or like me sharing a photo and then someone else liking it, and then maybe their friends see it. So Facebook is a definite asset, or it was for me.
So for you would consider yourself more along the specialist route, whereas I go down more the generalist route. For me, if somebody holds money in front of me, I will consider the job.
Oh no, I consider every job. You always should. No, definitely. I would. I consider every job. I have shot weddings also. Now, I'm not a wedding photographer, but I have done weddings. But I have to make sure, I mean, first off, I always let the people know I'm not a wedding photographer. This is not what I do. Look at my work. Yes, I can get pictures of your wedding. But there's a lot of details that go into that. But you can't, people, I don't know how to explain this, but people will expect something from you and you have to be able to deliver that.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I'm just not taking the money and say, yes, I'll shoot that for you. I want to make sure that the people know that I think I can do it, but let me, this is my body of work. Why are you contacting me? Have you seen my website? Have you seen, and I always send them links. Like, have you seen this? Did someone just tell you, like, hey, I know this photographer, I really like her work. You should hire her, which has happened, right? And I'll send them a link, like, let me show you my work. Let me know if you think it's going to work out for you. And I've had people email me back and say, like, no, you're right. We're not on the same page here. So, but you should always definitely consider the money. Of course, you want to make money off of it. Of course you do. But you can't just take, in my opinion, my humble opinion, any and every job that you're offered. Sometimes it just, sometimes it ends up being more of a headache for you than it's worth.
See, for me, on the way that I run my business is because I'm interested in so many different types of photography.
Yes.
I open myself up to pretty much all of them. So one week I can be shooting hotel rooms and food, and then the next week I can be doing fashion. But my website is actually separated out in such a way that it doesn't become a disjointed mess. So people will know that if they want to look at my wedding stuff, for example, then there's a wedding section for it. It's not everything all in one confusing.
Yeah, I saw that. I actually did. I looked at your website. So I do like the way it's arranged. It's perfect. So that's great. The thing is like,
I wouldn't recommend that to say somebody just starting out though.
No,
I've already got the advantage in that I've had the ability to learn all these different avenues.
Yes, and I think that you, as someone that is genuinely interested in all these things, that works out. I think the problem comes in where a lot of people, a lot of photographers, they're not genuinely interested in, pet photography or something. And then someone says, hey, can you shoot my pet? And they do. And it's that sort of thing. Some people are good at doing a lot of different types of the same thing, like artists. You can have an artist that's a great, painter. Sometimes they add photography. Sometimes they even add writing to that. And those artists are great at all the things that they do. They work in the medium that they're putting it out in. But not everyone is good at everything, even an artist. I know I'm not, so I stick to what I'm good at. So I try to do that.
The problem with the proliferation of digital cameras is somebody will take a camera and they will take a shot and they will see that they've managed to get a decent shot, and then suddenly they think,
I like that. Love the effects.
Google is great. And then they suddenly think that because they've taken a good shot, that makes them a photographer, that they should then start earning money, when you've got to put in the shutter time.
Yes, I mean, you can't say it any better than that. You absolutely have to. I have, 1,000,001 horrible photos and 1,000 good ones. But, you know, it's because you have to photograph everything. Every single thing out there, you go out. I almost always have one of my cameras with me, no matter where I go. You know, maybe I keep it in the car or it's thrown in my purse, but I almost always have something with me. Some of the best shots that I've gotten that I like personally the best are shots that actually are just like, I guess what would be considered like street photography, or it's like, you know, our sneaky photography is what I call it, because people don't realize that I am taking a picture of them. So, and I mean, I love it. I think it's amazing. Everything doesn't have to be thought out and you know, highly planned. Some of the best things are just off of the cuff, and you're doing it because you can, and you see something, you see the way the light looks, the way an emotion's coming across from a certain person that you may not even know, and you take the shot, and they're amazing, beautiful shots. So it's all happenstance, you know. You just go and you shoot, and you're going to get some great stuff if you really keep at it.
So you said you've always got a camera with you. What's your weapon of choice? What's your camera?
Well, it's Nikon because that's just what we had already. So like my husband actually works in the movie industry, and he was a photography minor. He had a photography minor in school, so like he's always shot film. So he had an old Nikkormat, and then he kind of had like, you know, these other old Nikon film cameras, and I told him like, hey, I want a digital camera. I think I really want to, you know, try to get into photography many years ago. And he bought me my first camera at Nikon, which was a Nikon D40, I believe. And I started shooting with that, and we just, you know, stuck to Nikon. So it's like we have right now I have a Nikon. We had the D700, D7000. We have a lot of old film cameras. Nikkormat, the F100, which is an amazing camera, and up until the time of, you know, digital really took over, was the fashion photographer's camera. We have some Mamiyas. So I'm sorry, did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, so we have some medium formats, old Mamiyas, and the 810. So right now it's just all Nikon. We just pick up things along the way. Now, I have Polaroids too. I'm a huge Polaroid fan.
I love my Polaroids as well.
Yeah.
Do you go FP100, or do you go for the Impossible project?
I love the Impossible project. So I have been, you know, I have a land camera. We borrowed from another photographer. We did like a little trade, and so we had his old. I'm lost for the name of it now. Something I don't remember. It was like some old German camera, which was amazing, that we took shots with. And, you know, we just basically, I would try anything. We stick with Nikon for our main cameras because we have, you know, the lenses that go with it. I don't see, there's a huge debate every time I go into some like chat room where there's a huge debate, Canon and Nikon, or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know, there's not a difference. Get the camera, you shoot, if you know what you're doing, you're going to get a great photo. Photography is all about composition and light. It's not about the pixels that you have in your camera. It's not about how expensive your camera was. Of course, these things can make a difference, only if you know what you're truly doing. It's not about the lens you have. I'm a firm believer that a $70 reflector can do much more for your photography than a $2,000 portrait lens can do for it. Because if you know what you're doing and you know how to use it, it's going to look amazing. It's very simple.
See, for me personally, I love my film stuff.
Yes.
I have 10 cameras all told, and only 3 of them are digital. So,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, film's great. I when I was young and just was getting cameras and shooting pictures, I was using film, obviously, but it was just on kind of this auto mode, right? So I really learned photography in the digital world. But my husband, so I was really lucky in that my husband is a photographer, and he is a black and white film photography. So he kind of taught me. We have our.
So you went backwards like I did.
I went backwards, and I love film. There's nothing digitally that can mimic film ever. It doesn't exist. It does not exist. I don't care what anyone says. It's not going to happen. Film it's such a process. It just gives me it makes me very happy. And I went, when you're developing it, so you develop your own film, right?
Yeah.
So we do as well. And you see the negatives. And then if you're lucky enough to be able and to develop prints, we can't do that at home, but we do have places here very near to us where we can go and rent and develop our prints, which I have done. And there's nothing greater than that, than seeing that print develop. And then you kind of learn the whole dodge and burn thing, and it's amazing. You can't. I tell every photographer, you should know film.
Yeah, and it slows you down as well. It brings your shot count down. You think about your shot more.
Yes, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves in photography. It's I don't want to come home if I'm shooting digital. I never want to come home, upload my photos, and see 20 or 25 pictures of the same exact thing. That drives me absolutely insane. And so I'm a very, very fast shooter. Of course, with film, you when I say fast, I mean in the
step to set rather than
yeah. So because when you're shooting film, you have to do that. You have to really think about every shot. You're in there.
Especially with medium format as well.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that one shot, forget it. That better be your shot. You may want to waste 2 shots, but that's it. That's it. You can't just spray and pray, as they say, and hope you get something that you can digitally manipulate after to be kind of okay. And if you're seeing it on a computer screen, will look good, but try to print it up and see what happens. So I would say definitely film is it's hard. I'm for sure I'm a much better digital shooter than I am a film shooter. So film will still make me a little bit nervous, but I do it because I love it so much, and I know that it's just making me such a better photographer. Digital, I don't have any qualms. I'll shoot anything digital. I know I'm going to get my shot. And film, it's really have to, is this good? Where's light? Okay, let me think about this. Let me slow down and really see what's happening here. Every little detail, everything. So it's something to be said. I'm glad to see that here in America, at least, probably everywhere, that when you go for a photography degree, you are taught film first and foremost.
It's the same here in the UK.
Yeah, so like that's amazing. So and that's great because you can't. You have to know film, I think. I would stress it. Please try to learn, film photography, and it really takes you up to a different level.
So where does your current inspiration come for your images?
Well, I mean, as far as just like other photographers, or do you just
where
general?
Where you get your ideas from?
Kind of just in my own head sometimes. They just come. I know what I like. Once again, I'm repeating myself, but it's just like over years of shooting and like the type of art that I'm drawn to, what I love the most, it just works its way into my photography. Fashion is a big thing for me. I mean, that's what I have my degree in. And I love the feminine and the dark combined. So like something very feminine, but there's darkness in that. And that's just my inspiration can come from something I see on television, can come from a movie. A lot of times I would say, if I'm pressed to think about it, it will come from something I read. So I love to read books, and there's something about reading a book. I would say that a movie is digital photography and reading the book is film photography, or that the nitty gritty is in the book. And it's the same with photography. It's like the nitty gritty of photography is in film. And when you see film, the problem is that people don't see enough film prints compared to digital prints. Right now, everything's just on a computer screen, which is very sad to me because it loses something in the process of that. So the viewer can't fully appreciate what real film photography looks like. I just went to, I don't know if you're aware of, there's the Annenberg Photography Center. It's in Culver City here in Los Angeles. The Annenbergs are a huge, prominent family, and they huge with the arts. So they have like a space for photography, and they put out a lot of, exhibitions and stuff. So it's a great photography museum. So we go there. They're always changing it out, see everything that's there. Also, we have the Getty, and they have a huge photography exhibit as well. And so when you go to these places and you're seeing prints from a film camera, huge prints, and there's something about seeing that print, I feel that you can look into if it's a person or, even someone like Ansel Adams that did, all these glorious landscapes. It's almost like you're peering into the soul of that object or that person. And I'm a huge fan of grain. I love grain. I put grain in almost all my photographs, even digitally. It's like, it's so beautiful to me. And I have many pet peeves about photography and photographers. And one of the other ones I have is that people seem to be so stuck on like no grain. Like, oh, the camera's this many pixels. Oh, there's no grain. It's like, what's wrong with grain? I don't want to see something that looks almost like it's ready for surgery. Like it's so clean and perfect. It's not real. Like I want to have that little bit of mystery behind it. And film photography does that for me. And it's the same way. It's like a book does that for me. And I get a lot of inspiration from books because your imagination is used in that. And you just see the pictures in your mind.
I like the imperfections. It's what gives the images the character.
Yeah. Imperfection is beautiful. I'm bored to death when I go through someone's photos, and it's just photo after photo of you see this a lot when people want to be like fashion photographers, or a lot of headshots, which I did start off doing, which I detest, by the way. But you see them and they're all like these perfectly lit photos. Everything's perfectly evenly lit. Blah 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 blah. Like I'm bored after 3 photos. That's it. They all look the same to me. I want to see shadows and light, and I want to see the imperfections, because that's what makes it interesting.
Give me contrast, give me drama.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. See, that's why I loved Betty Davis. Contrast and drama.
So we are already at 35 minutes on the interview. So I'm going to wrap up the interview here.
Okay.
And where can people see your work? Where can people
Well, I have my website, which is just Paula BM Photography. I'm on Instagram. And so I obviously don't put everything on my website, but on Instagram, I usually just upload everything. And that's also Paula BM Photography at Instagram. I'm on Flickr, but that's all mostly, other photographers as well. So it's the same thing. Everything's Paula BM Photography. I pretty much was able to keep that just across the board. So I'm on Flickr, I'm on Instagram, I have my website, I'm on Facebook, Paula BM Photography. And the only thing that's different is my Twitter handle, which is PVM Photography. Because there was also another Paula BM, which was surprising to me. So I'm like, okay. So that's where you can see all my work.
Okay, that's great. I shall put that all in the show notes so that people can come on and have a look at your work themselves.
Great. Thank you.
So thank you for coming on, and we'll finish there.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Okay, I'll just leave a little bit of silence on that one. I looked all the way through that then, and we had no viewers on that, so nobody saw you without makeup.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so next up is the questions side of things.
Okay.
So basically what I do with these is I literally just read off the page that I've sent to you already and get your take on that answer. And then each of those questions, then I pull off in editing.
Oh, okay.
And I create a show for each of them. So one show will be like question 1, and it'll be multiple answers from different people.
That's brilliant. I love that. That's great to be able to get all these different answers from people.
Yeah. And it is just, each show will concentrate on just that one question.
Beautiful.
I'm asking everyone, so you'll be in amongst the bunch of the panel, so to speak.
Right. I will definitely be watching all of those. That's great.
Or listening.
Yes. Listening, yes.
Because it will be going out on iTunes and every other podcast network that you can think of.
Okay.
Lots of behind the scenes work going on. Okay, so are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, so what advice would you give someone wanting to make the transition from hobbyist photographer to paid photographer?
Well, my best advice that I can think of is to have a lot of experience, to have a portfolio worthy of making you a professional photographer, which means that you've been shooting for a while and that you have a defined style. And that is not something that you can just think up. It's something that just happens to you throughout taking many, many photographs. So if you cannot look at your body of work, or someone else cannot look at it and know what style you have, you're not ready to be a professional photographer, in my opinion. So that's what I would say, to define your style and it be very clear. And then being a professional photographer, you won't have to try to be. It's probably just going to happen.
Okay. What is your current digital workflow? And you can include filming in that as well.
Okay, well, I always upload into Lightroom, and I, star all the pictures that will work for what I first think, what I was taking those shots for. I star them, and then I take all the other photos out that are not going to work for that. And then I go back into Lightroom and I'll lightly edit in Lightroom. Some photos, and depending what the objective is, I'll have to go take into Photoshop. And Photoshop, I do all my own editing. I retouch by hand, for lack of a better word, because I know some people run them through programs. So I never like those looks because I think you can tell that they've been run through a program. So there's like imperfections in the skin or the eyes or whatever it may be, hair. I retouch myself to the best of my ability. And then I basically will upload them, or I may print them, or as far as like people, if I'm hired to do something, I usually just SmugMug and upload them all to SmugMug, and I will let them download directly from there, if that's kind of the deal. Everything's a little bit different with that aspect of it, but normally it's Lightroom, Photoshop if needed, and then I trash any pictures that are obviously not good, like closed eyes or just something out of focus, which happens to everyone. Of course, with film, it's the same way. We process at home, develop, and then we scan. And I look at the scan, and if it's out of focus, which happens more than I like to admit, then we kind of trash that. And if it's good, I'll go in and sometimes do Lightroom, we'll dodge and burn, or if I'm very lucky, I will go in and print it up and dodge and burn it there and have a print. That's basically it.
Awesome. Okay. How do you protect your work from a copyright point of view? What do you?
I think, it's so hard. I mean, I detest the whole copyright across the photo. So like people do that when they upload photos. I just can't do it. I mean, anyone that's even a basic Photoshop person can take that copyright off anyway. So I don't really think it definitely doesn't protect you at all. As by now everyone knows, lots of people's photos have been stolen. They, been used, and, there's all this legality that takes place. For me, I just put, if I upload, I put a simple copyright, PDM photography. Sometimes I'll put it in the bottom logo of the photo. Sometimes I don't even put it on the photo at all. If I upload like to Facebook or Flickr, I'll just, in the upload, like in the description, I'll put, a small copyright symbol, Paula VM photography. I mean, there's not really much you can do about it.
Mine is the signature.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I like to sign my work.
But how do you do that? So you sign it. How do you sign it digitally and then upload it?
Basically, I have, with my graphics pen, I have recorded my signature that I put on images, and I've incorporated that into my watermark.
Oh, see, I'm not that intelligent. I'll have to look that up. Yeah, but it's hard. I know. I have some friends that whose works were, taken, and people saying they were theirs. But it's hard because nowadays it's just the web, the internet, kind of like a free for all. So put it out there and hope for the best.
Okay. Do you have a backup routine? If so, what do you do?
I back up everything to external hard drives. And much like almost everyone else I've heard speak about this, I learned the hard way. So my computer's crashed. I've lost photos. Yeah, it's horrible. It's so bad. But so everything, as soon as I dump my photos on my computer, I copy and throw them onto external hard drives, and I have those. And for film, we
Film's the easiest way to back it.
yeah, because like then you're just saving them and preserving those photos. But yeah, digitally, definitely. Well, I had a hard drive, by the way, that we had backed up a lot of photos to, but I never did a second backup to. And then that hard drive fell, and I picked it up, and I just heard like this little wrangling noise in there, and I was like, no. So yeah, definitely, you have to back up your photos. You have to.
Do you go off-site?
No, I haven't. I thought about it. Hasn't happened yet. But though I'm sure soon enough there's going to be a reason why I start doing that. Like I learned my lesson the second time. Yeah, but
the price is always coming down. Even if it's just sending it to Flickr on a private account, so you've got the high-res JPEGs if you want it.
Yeah, I have not done that, but that's definitely next on my agenda to do.
My own off-site method is I have a Western Digital MyX7, which is got 4 drives in it, and that is split between all the information split between those 4 drives. So if one goes down, there's always enough information to rebuild the files.
Yeah,
and that is my on-site backup. I also got a RAID system inside the computer which does the same thing.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
So that lives on the network, and then I've got the one on the computer as well. And then the MyX4, I've actually owned 2 of them, and I store one at my friend's house, and that automatically once a week sends it to the other one.
I know. Look, you could get crazy. I know you could drive yourself crazy, because there could be a fire. I think about this. I mean, we could have a fire. Anything could happen. But yes, I know. I mean, I know people. Someone told me like, well, just don't send them out to Creative Cloud or whatever, or the cloud. I'm like,
no, I'm not that possessive of the images. As soon as I've done them, they've gone.
I think that's something that I felt too, like when it comes back to that whole copyright thing, is that I'm not very possessive of it. I mean, obviously I wouldn't want someone to take it and say like, oh, I shot this. But, if someone did say that, or they pretended they did, first of all, the person that's doing that is not going to create an entire career of that. It's not like, they're going to get accolades. So it's just kind of something that happens.
It's more my client stuff that I worry about.
Yes. Well, especially if you're shooting children. So you that's kind of a iffy, you need to, parents are very cautious about it too. Like, well, where do you put these photos? And I said, look, this is the deal. I may post 1 or 2 photos on my website if I really like them. Those will most likely be kind of but just a little darker, maybe the black and white or something like that. If you don't like it, you can give me a call. I understand. I'll take it out. If they're paying clients. If I shoot someone and for some reason or another we come to agreement and they didn't pay, or if it's a trade, I do what I want. So it works like that.
Okay, so next question 5. People always ask, what lens should I buy? So with this in mind, what are the things you consider before purchasing a new lens?
First and foremost, do I really need this? Is this really going to improve my photography in any way, shape, or form? I think people just get caught up in the newest, biggest, brightest thing out there. And it doesn't really have a lot of substance behind, like, oh, my lens is $2,000. When, I've shot things with my 50 millimeter, $100 lens, which look fantastic. So I know I'm a huge Lens Baby fan. I love my Lens Baby. I adore it. So I bought the Lens Baby because I just loved the look so much. And I don't want to have to do something in Photoshop or add an effect when I can do it in camera. So I would rather just buy a Lens Baby, which is not very expensive, and use that. I use my Lens Baby as much as I use any really expensive lens that I have. So I would say, just to make sure that it's a warranted purchase, like, can you afford it? And is it going to really make a difference?
Okay. Question 6. A lot of the creative industry involves rejection. What's your personal way of dealing with it?
Oh, I always ignore it. My motto, ignore it. I don't know what else can you do with it. I mean, you can't take it to heart. I would flip my wrist. Yeah, I don't care. They don't know my aesthetic. They don't know what I'm trying to accomplish, and it's an artistic form. And you can't. Art's subjective, so only if you know the basics and you deviate from there. Gotta know the basics, though.
Question 7. Where do you think photography is headed in the future with your crystal ball?
I see, and I personally hope, that it's really going back to the basics. I see a lot of younger and younger people shooting film and starting on film. There's people like Brian Muirhead, getting very big, and they're film photographers. And so I just see the basics of good photography, of light and dark, going there. That now people are thinking, like, well, anyone can buy an expensive camera and you can take a good photo. You can take a decent photo. So people maybe aren't going to be interested in just a decent photo any longer, but they're going to go back to something with more substance. That's where I think the future is in the past of photography. Yes.
I like Ryan Muirhead as well.
Yes, I love him.
Well, I literally interviewed Melissa New like 2-3 days ago.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, I just love it. I think it's fantastic. Lots of style, lots of personality of that whole group.
Okay. Question 8. Besides your camera body, what would be your 3 pieces of gear that you want if you are stranded on an island for 48 hours?
Well, I would take my Lens Baby because I love it so much. I would take my external flash because that always comes in handy. And I would have my 70-200. Like, good, perfect overall.
And none of those have been said by anyone else so far.
Are you serious?
Yes. Yeah, people have chosen like 16 males. Nobody said a Lens Baby. Nobody said a 70-200.
Really? Wow. Maybe either I'm terribly wrong or I'm onto something. I don't know.
This is why I ask everyone.
Yeah. That's interesting. See, this is why I'll watch, because I want to hear everyone's answers. It's fantastic.
It's going to be a fun show, that's for sure. Question 9. Given that everyone is a photographer these days, when, in your opinion, is the right time to make the transition to getting paid?
Oh, as soon as people will pay you. That's right. As soon as someone's willing to pay, you take it. Definitely. Okay, I'm a firm believer that not everyone is a good photographer. So I hear this a lot from other fellow photographers where they'll be like, kind of, I like to go on a lot of group shoots because I love to meet other photographers because you can almost always learn something from them or, kind of bounce around creative ideas. So I hear them a lot of times complaining like, oh, well, I could have got this job, but someone a bit cheaper or that or yada, yada. And my response is, look, if the person didn't want to pay your price, they were not going to hire you anyway. So, as soon as you have all your gear, all of your aesthetics together, and someone comes and asks you to do something and you say, hey, I charge whatever it is, you're going to, price yourself at. And they say, okay, I'll take it. Well, then that's a good time to start getting paid. And then you go from there. You don't go backwards and do something for free after that.
So, last question. If someone wants to apply to be your intern stroke assistant, what qualities do you look for?
Someone that's a good listener, someone that can anticipate what is needed, a desire to learn, and someone that would speak up that if they saw something like, hey, you think this might be good? But that also knows their boundaries. So someone that would speak up to me personally, but not speak up to the model or a client. So I'm all for, like, if you have ideas, tell me. They may be very good and we could end up using them. But don't go and say in the middle of the shoot, like, hey, you should do this. Because then I would most likely be like, hey, shut up and hold the reflector. So just boundaries, initiative, and a desire to be there, obviously, a desire